SpectreVision Radio.
Telemetry and launch condition.
Well, some other observers.
Hey, it's late night.
It's late night on the Astral Plane, where it's never too late. With your host, Ryan Singer.
It's more fun to believe.
Welcome to the debut voyage of Late Night on the Astral Plane. I am your host, Ryan Singer. Join us as we make a safe place for the strange and the silly. We are combining our love of comedy and the paranormal in this new format. You might have listened to the previous program, Me Paranormal You, for nearly 13 years, over 800 episodes. You might be saying, Ryan, what is really changing here? Not a ton is changing. It's just a new name for a new time. I love Me Paranormal You. It is a part of who I am. It will forever be a part of who I am moving forward. It has shaped me in ways that I never would have guessed. Between all the people that I've met who shared their incredible paranormal journeys and stories with me, or research findings, to the investigations that I've been going on, the expeditions that have turned into, quite frankly, life-consuming passion projects that have diverted me away from what I thought when I was younger, what I would be doing as a grown person, or as an adult anyway. I just got to say that I hope you're excited for the journey ahead. I know I am. And even if you're not excited, hopefully I can get you excited for that journey. There's going to be a little more comedy on this show, probably, and there will always be a video component. If you're listening to this, you can watch all the videos, or you can go to patreon.com/Ryan Singer, and you can still get ad-free episodes moving forward for $3 a month. Now, there will be some sponsors that I'm not completely familiar with their product, but hey, if they're going to be throwing money at me, I'm going to be, these are sponsors from, the Astral Plane. So, but we actually have a real, sponsoring the debut, the new launch of Late Night on the Astral Plane, formerly known as Me Paranormal You. I got to talk about October Custom Publishing, because if you know me, you know that I love cool t-shirts. And the t-shirts that I've been getting made from my friends over at OCP, OctoberCustomPublishing.com is the website. The most feedback I get about anything when I'm traveling on the road or from people is how much they love the shirts, how much they love the shirts that they bought. What I will do is I will hit up my buddy Torkel and I will say, I've got an idea for a t-shirt. He will bring the idea to life. And maybe you remember this one. I've got a few here. This is the Fool shirt, designed by October Custom Publishing. So soft, so soft. The new one that I have currently, and I will be selling these now that most of the tour dates are done. If you want one of these shirts, I think the only size that I'm extremely limited on is large. I have small to XXL. My Naps Over Nukes shirt, also super soft, same quality from OCP. They get there almost immediately. Now OCP they're mostly a boutique, they're mostly a boutique magazine shop. They're a boutique, multidisciplinary magazine design studio. That's a lot of syllables for a guy like me to get that out. So a boutique multidisciplinary magazine design studio based in Austin, Texas. You might be thinking, well, Ryan, I hear a lot of bad stuff coming out of Texas nowadays, specifically Austin. There is a bright light in October Custom Publishing based in Austin. Now, they make magazines for everybody, from special interest groups to associations, lifestyle or technical publications. They have all kinds of services that they can provide for you. They're fast, they're efficient, they're creative, they're wonderful, they're communicative. It's really incredible, and it's a pleasure to call Torkel a friend and a colleague. And so I really, really appreciate it. I mean, they got over 50 years of combined experience over there. You need like a zine, you need a magazine, you need a t-shirt, you need posters. Life So Much More Than Pooping, those shirts, those sold like wildfire, and the posters did too. I'm out of those. Anyway, they are the go-to source for all things physical for me. Physical media, t-shirts, posters, all that kind of stuff. OctoberCustomPublishing.com. So with that friend plug out of the way, let's get into it, right? Let's get into the new realms of, we're going to be talking about, obviously, all the same stuff. We're going to be talking about UFOs, disclosure, ghosts, cryptids, expeditions, paranormal investigation techniques, ITC, Ouija boards, true life stories from people's lives, comedians, scientists. Although I did get an email back from someone I was hoping to interview for the new show that they can't do it. Maybe in the future, maybe someday they'll change their mind when I can send them these are all my numbers, But fingers crossed, we're going to manifest that guest, because I think you would really enjoy that person coming on the show. More details about that later, potentially, if I can ever land some of these big fish out in the paranormal world. I'll keep you posted. Some of your favorites will be returning to the show, as always. Next week, we've got my friend and yours, Dash Kwiatkowski, rejoining the program as my first guest. That'll be coming out next week. We talk about some exciting, exclusive breaking news on that episode, on that voyage. So this is voyage number 1. This is what I'm calling the episodes. I'm calling them voyages. Where are we voyaging? Well, we're voyaging late night on the astral plane, right? And woo-woo wild ones run wild over here. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the phrase, the astral plane. Now, it has esoteric roots, obviously. Depending on who you talk to and, what maybe their anchor belief system is, it could mean anything from the realm of consciousness and total, universal global consciousness. Although universal is probably a better term for that than global, because consciousness, in my opinion, clearly expands beyond Earth, which would be considered global. The dream realm, the after physical form, the death realm, in between lives realm. Any Michael Newton readers out there? Life Between Lives, the author of that. So it depends on really where your perspective is coming from. Do you want to find, and just communicate only with angels and spirits? Some people say this is the realm where they reside. The astral plane can mean many things. One thing unifying, in my opinion, a unifying definition of the astral plane, and what we'll be using here as the premise of this show, is we will be diving into everything that is ethereal, non-physical, paranormal, otherworldly, supernatural, and just unanswerable, potentially. And we're going to be having fun along the way while we do it, which does not preclude being able to have serious conversations. We need to be able to have fun to keep our batteries charged and move forward in this life. And we get into that next week in a great chat with my buddy Dash. So in this esoteric realm, whether it's Robert Monroe talking about OOBEs, out-of-body experiences, never really will call it astral projection, at least in the first 2 books that he's written, or that he wrote, I should say, Rest in Particles, Robert Monroe. But astral projecting comes from astral plane. Now, to astral project, one must be in their astral body. So we are basically kind of launching from that premise like I just laid out. The non-physical, the ethereal, the spiritual, the consciousness body. Is it real? I think you know the answer on this side of the aisle. And that answer is a definitive yes. At least we believe it to be real because we've experienced it. I'm doing the Gateway Voyage meditation program. Many of you probably know that if you've been listening to Me and Paranormal You, the former iteration of this show. Other people do all kinds of meditation practices where they experience some kind of crazy thing happening, and that crazy thing is leaving physical form, traveling around in the dreamscape, maybe it's me, maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe, possibly, you experience this when you're asleep and you're astral traveling and don't even realize it, or just never really defined it that way. Having an out-of-body experience, an OBE for short, instead of an OOBE. It's like, OOBE almost sounds like you're in trouble, like, OOBE, like, careful, easy now, OOBE. OBE, let's just go with that from now. I don't know what the point is, right? Okay, so, and what do I mean by that? What is the point of traveling out of body? You might be asking yourself, okay, I can travel out of body. What's the point? Why would I travel out of body, out of physical form? Well, I think there's one big answer for that, and that is reinforcement of a deep knowledge, a knowing that we all already have, even if we don't address it, that there is more to this existence than our physical bodies. Our physical bodies steer the wheel, and they take control oftentimes. I mean, I'm thinking about ice cream most of every day. That is my physical body taking control of the wheel and being like, let's go to this Kroger's and get some Chunky Monkey. It's buy one, get one free. I like getting chunked and munked. Everybody knows that. My body knows that. My body loves getting chunked and munked. Will I do that? I don't need to because I've got one up in the freezer right now. Now, what is the purpose other than just realizing that we are more than our physical form? Well, I think it ties into that. Once we really know and sit with the truth of being more than just our physical form, it opens up the possibilities to a lot more things. We realize, so after this physical form is gone, I may be, still going? Life after death, as they say. I think physical death after physical form is gone, life will continue. I'm a big believer in reincarnation. I just like sustainability. I talk about this all the time. I love sustainability, recycle, reuse, reincarnate. All the Christians out there are polluting the afterlife with their single-use souls. Think about your cosmic footprint for just a second. Get on board with the reincarnation program, right? But you do have to take your labels off before, which seems crazy that you have to remove the plastic label from the plastic bottle before they'll accept it for recycling. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that right now. But once we can realize that physical form isn't the end-all be-all of our total existence, then it really it pops off the lid on this can of worms. And those worms are delicious, and they're fun, and they're exciting, and they're, many of them, unknowable and supernatural and otherworldly. And we're living in a time where UFO disclosure is seeping at a very slow pace, through the crack of the door of reality for many people. And we wish it would just bust through the door already, many of us. But we have to live with what is consensus reality, and consensus reality right now is that disclosure is moving at a very slow pace. I'm not going to say, I do want to read some W.B. Yeats. I just picked up a book of W.B. Yeats poetry. As someone who is, has a lot of Irish heritage in their family, I've always loved that W.B. Yeats was Irish. It's like this weird cultural pride that maybe not a lot of white guys express that often in, positive, productive ways, to say the least. But because I think this ties into what we're talking about with the end of physical form not being the end of it all, right? And supernatural and paranormal, and as my buddy Dash would call them, para-weird themes, these unknowable themes, these esoteric ideas in conversations, they seep into the greatest of all artworks. Poetry, fiction, television, movies, novels, even nonfiction, memoirs, things like that. They are a huge part of what it means to be alive and to enjoy storytelling and to enjoy laughter. To be mesmerized by a fascinating tale that is in many ways unbelievable is enjoyable. There's enjoyment there. To laugh a bunch at some very funny things, that's real pure enjoyment, right? And to me, those traverse, they straddle the physical and the non-physical, because it's ideas, it's thought, but it's also physical. You can feel the enjoyment in your physical body when a laugh is rumbling from your gut up and out of your mouth. That's real physical enjoyment, and it's also emotional and spiritual enjoyment as well. So I'd like to read a poem from W.B. Yeats. This is from the collected poems of W.B. Yeats. Here's the book that I picked up. You can see there. So let's read. An Acre of Grass. Picture and book remain, an acre of green grass for air and exercise. Now strength of body goes, midnight, an old house, where nothing stirs but a mouse. My temptation is quiet here at life's end, neither loose imagination nor the mill of the mind, consuming its rag and bone, can make the truth known. Grant me an old man's frenzy, myself must I remake, till I am Timon and Lear, or that William Blake, who beat upon the wall till truth obeyed his call. A mind Michelangelo knew, that can pierce the clouds, or inspired by frenzy, shake the dead in their shrouds, forgotten else by mankind, an old man's eagle mind. And yeah, that's it. So, an acre of grass. Picture and book remain. An acre of green grass for air and exercise. Now, strength of body goes. So it kind of gets right into it, right into the theme of what we're talking about here. And that is the death of physical form. The cycle of birth and then decay, and what will remain. Picture and book remain. Now, will those things remain forever? Likely not. But still, the ideas coded therein, or that are communicated within those pages and within those images, whether they're still or moving, photo or movie. Movie actually is just kind of the word moving, but shortened. Why have I never thought of that? Movie just means moving, but short, like Debbie means Deborah. If you've been watching my stand-up act lately, you know that I'm obsessed with the name Deborah. So anyway, they remain, right? And the truth is unknown. Wow. Pretty fascinating. And this is from early 20th century. We're talking 100, roughly maybe even 120 years ago when that poem was written. I don't have the exact year on that. It's on the page, but I took out the bookmark, so I'm not going to look it up. But what we know here is these themes, whether they're in poetry or fiction like we talked about, they've been there. And guess what? They're still here now, and they're taking different forms. And that's what we're searching for. And when we're out on the astral plane, and when we leave our body, or we have a spontaneous paranormal experience, or when we commune with friends and experience spontaneous combustion of joy, which is laughter, we are spiritually communing with the gods. And we are sharing consciousness in a way that builds each other up and that feeds each other in a sustainable way. And that's what this show is aiming to do until it's not a show anymore, until it's just picture and book remain and I'm long gone, right? What are we leaving behind? And we can't be obsessed with that, because we can't be obsessed with like, oh, what's my legacy? Because it's like you don't get to be in charge of that. You don't get to be the one who dictates what your legacy will be. Because if you try to dictate, you're a dictator. I guess that's not where you want to be. But we're going to take a quick break. And just a reminder, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month gets you no commercials. We're going to take a commercial break. And can you dig it? Can you dig the dulcet tunes, the dulcet sounds from Tyler Boyd and Aaron Lee? Oh my God, this music, this theme music that they have created for this show. They did the theme song. They did the music beds. It is mesmerizing. And I could just sit here and groove to it constantly, like all night. When I first received it, I was just like, oh my Zeus, this is perfect. So big shout out to Tyler Boyd and Aaron Lee. I married them actually. What is, I don't need to be giving away all their personal information, but I received a gift at that wedding ceremony and I'm wearing it now. You see that? God, you love the Never-Ending Story, and I love the Never-Ending Story, so don't act like you don't. Don't act like you don't. That was the Orin. Yes, indeed. We're going to be right back after this short break. And we're back. Those tunes, again, Tyler Boyd and Aaron Lee, thank you so much for the new theme music for Late Night on the Astral Plane. I'm your host, Ryan Singer. Welcome back. We read some W.B. Yeats. We're talking about the Astral Plane. We are launching this new show, this rebranded or whatever people want to call it, this new vision, this new direction that Me Paranormal You, after nearly 850 episodes and almost 13 years, we really went for it. Sorry, I've been chugging some soda over here. And, we're launching off into the new future. And that new future is going to include disclosure. Let's talk a little bit about some disclosure news. There is more stuff happening than one can keep their finger on, right? And there are exciting things happening in the world of paranormal investigation. There are articles being written that we kind of talked about in the previous show about shape-shifting plasma and orbs. I've been traveling all summer. I've been seeing lights in the sky almost everywhere I go. And it's not because I'm special. It's because I'm simply making some time to sit and watch. And you just got to try to clear your head, I think. I don't know. You find whatever works for you. You'll find a system that works for you, and they will show themselves. They will make themselves available to you. And they'll dance around, and it'll be a spiritual and it'll be an exciting moment when you see these things happening. I put this in on the second segment because it's a little heavier than what I usually like to get into on this show or the previous show, nonetheless. As many of you know, I edited a paranormal investigation documentary and was also a part of the team in a medium-sized way, I suppose, an investigation at Mutilation Ranch. Now, we are working on getting that to a streaming service at some point in the near future. With Greg Feynman, Mama Sue, Dan Lindholm, and Ed Brown, and myself, and Tom Miller's ranch in Colorado, what we're calling Mutilation Ranch because of all the cattle mutilations that have occurred there over the years. And, Beyond Skinwalker Ranch has done an episode there. It's been on Ancient Aliens. It's been on a bunch of the paranormal stuff. UFO Witness, my buddy Greg was on an episode. They interviewed him a little bit out there, but it not worth. They didn't really want to get into what was really happening out there on that show. Now, some of these networks, it's like, well, our show, we can't talk about these other things because this show's about this. And it's like, well, okay, so you don't want the entire truth or the story about what's happening out here. That's fine. Then don't pretend like you're figuring it out. Anyway, that's just the nature of television. But the reason I'm bringing this up, and, I'm sorry I'm not extremely eloquent about this, but we received the very, very sad news that Mama Sue has passed away. Mama Sue is no longer with us. And golly, I mean, she is a woman, a person, a creature, a being that anyone who encountered her loved her. And anyone she encountered, she loved as well. And we deeply, deeply miss Mama Sue, and it's a real bummer that we can't be having conversations with her in the future on this show, and for her to see the reach and hopefully the positive impact that her role in the investigation at Mutilation Ranch and the documentary fits, that it will have for people who are experiencers and maybe have been made to feel crazy their entire life for having clairvoyant abilities like Mama Sue, her story about being younger and then seeing, as a kid and having, being able to see the dead, and then being kind of told like, we're not really doing that. And then, pushing down the abilities for years and years. And then later, as she grew up, re-embracing those abilities and feeling like she really found her calling when she joined Greg years ago and started investigating out at Mutilation Ranch. And our thoughts, our prayers, and our condolences and our deep, deep love to Mama Sue's family, who I got to meet some of them last time I was out there when she was still alive and got to visit with her. And we had the screening of the documentary in Trinidad, Colorado. And Mama Sue surprised us all by being able to make it, even though she was in quite poor health. And boy, oh boy, were we glad to have that moment. But I'm not trying to get all emotional over here. I'm verklempt. But we love you, Mama Sue, and we miss you, and we know you're not gone. And we now obviously, I don't know if it's obvious or not, but I'm not the type of person who loses someone close to me and then immediately tries to contact them through paranormal means or methods, ITC, Ouija board, psychics, etc. That's just not how I've operated in the past, and I don't currently operate that way now. So we're not going to be doing that on this show. I mean, that seems kind of strange. I think I've been chatting with Greg, obviously, who's been expectedly taking Mama Sue's loss very, 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 very hard, as well as her family and friends. There was over 200 people at her memorial service, her celebration of life, and that's no surprise. And if you've seen any of the clips or heard the interview with Mama Sue from Me and Paranormal You, or when we've had her on here, you fully understand why there'd be so many people there celebrating the life and being able to be fortunate enough to have time spent with Mama Sue Gutierrez. Now, we're over here talking about, in the first part of this show, about the astral plane and what does it show us, and why do we leave our body, and we leave our physical body because it's a profound awareness that washes over us when we realize that the physical form is not the end-all be-all to living. And after this physical form is gone, we continue on. And the thing that makes us, specifically us, and hopefully the us that is learning lessons along the way and trying our darndest to keep getting better. Maybe we stop making the same mistakes over and over again. Maybe we stop getting a pint of ice cream and eating it late at night the day before we have a 9-hour road trip. Things like that, but also a little more profound. We realize that the thing that makes us us the consciousness, the spirit, the soul, whatever people want to call it, that it continues on. And, and I remember one of the last times I was in a Catholic church. I was raised Catholic, but I don't do that anymore. But the only times I really ever find myself in a Catholic church is it's a funeral or a wedding. And I'll never forget my Grandpa Singer's funeral. Packed church, great man, living saint. I mean, I didn't know him well enough to know his day-to-day activities, but yes, just a loving man who would never try to put anybody out. I think he took one Tylenol his entire life or something. It's something crazy like that, right? Working until the day he died, literally died at work, had a car accident. But at his funeral, I'll never forget, the priest said something that stuck out to me during the ceremony. He said, "We choose to believe, blah, 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 blah. We choose to believe that Bernie is in a better place. We choose to believe that Bernie is going on to the gates of heaven. We choose to believe that, my grandpa's name was Bernie, great name." And I remember, for whatever reason, the word believe, it really, really stuck with me. It anchored into me. And I had this moment at the time where I was pretty filled with like anti-religious rage at that point in my life. I think the grade school I'd went to had just been, I think it was right around that time where they had met, an article in the newspaper had come out that they'd been harboring one of the Catholic priest, pedophile guys. And some guy who, it was a priest when I was there. So I was pretty kind of like anti-Catholic institution, right, at the time. But I went there obviously because it's, I'm not going to skip my grandfather's funeral. And I just remember the word believe, hearing it and then just wanting to like stand up and be like, "You hear this? This is all, you hear this, right? We make a choice to believe." That's what he's saying to everybody. And you understand that's bullshit, right? That was my energy internally at the moment. I was grieving and I was upset and, I was bringing other things to the table, But believe, we choose to believe. That stuck with me. And thankfully, it stuck with me. And the premise of the last show, the last podcast, it's more fun to believe, right? And we're keeping that for this. It is more fun to believe. And that doesn't mean it's not more difficult sometimes, because it is. It's definitely more difficult to choose to believe in something, to believe in whether that is a positive future outcome when things seem dire and dark and hopeless, or we choose to believe in the power of love over hatred. That is difficult as hell sometimes. And I don't know about you, but for me, in life, in general, it seems like later on, if I've been fortunate enough to have been guided by others close to me who are better at doing such things as embracing love over fear and hatred all the time, and great shining examples for me to try to live up to, even though I fail. Later on, if I was able to make that choice, I am always so damn thankful that I was able to make that choice in the moment instead of going the other way with it. And it's those moments that they're difficult to hold on to, right? When you lose someone like Mama Sue. The reason I'm even talking about all this shit is because I was about ready to say we choose to believe that Mama Sue's in a better place, and I'm saying the same shit that priest was saying. Like, I had to like stop myself for a second. I'm like, what am I now? I'm giving like the point is, just because I was upset and grieving and also upset about other things from the past related to the Catholic Church doesn't mean that that priest on that day was wrong. We choose to believe, and we choose to believe everything. And consensus reality is difficult right now. It's difficult to get a grasp on what consensus reality is. And that is very destabilizing. And with destabilization comes chaos. And with chaos comes wild, wild behavior. And we see that in the governments of the world and the way it plays out in the streets. With, the tragedies and the horrific things happening like ICE and the genocide in Gaza and other things. In climate change. It's chaos. Because people can't get on the same consensus reality that climate change is real. So they operate as if it's not, and it's devastating, right? People can't get on the same page that there is no such thing as an illegal person. And because they can't get on that same page, chaos ensues in the streets and people are abducted and kidnapped, trying to go to work or trying to go to immigration hearings or, at their home by masked agents who, I don't know what they think they're doing other than trying to make money. I don't know. Consensus reality can be difficult. But we make choices, right? And so we choose to believe that Mama Sue, even though in physical form is no longer here with us, she's still here. She's still there. She's still everywhere. And at some point, Mama Sue may want to say hi. Maybe that's in our dreams. Maybe that's while we're on an investigation somewhere. Part of me would love to think, and this has happened at a Florida location, that now we've got someone on the inside, right? And it's kind of a heartening thing to think about, that you have an inside person when you're doing these investigations, someone that you already have a relationship with and communication with, and trust has been built, and similar goals, and now they've got information, they've got all the answers now that we've been looking for over here, right? And so can we open up that line of communication? Will Mama Sue want to, at some point, contact us and, start giving us the cheat codes to the information about Fitz and Mutilation Ranch and, the spirit of the missing woman that's out there on the property that Mama Sue encountered initially while they are out there just trying to investigate cattle mutilations? Will we get those cheat codes someday? Will Greg get those cheat codes? Will Mama Sue do that? We don't know, right? Will Mama Sue, I wouldn't be surprised if she became a spirit guide for multiple people. I mean, she's just that kind of person, right? I could see Mama Sue just thriving in such a role on the other side, or not even the other side, amongst us, but unseen, however we want to call it, right? We choose to believe these things. We make a choice every single day that we wake up that we're going to keep investigating the paranormal. We're going to keep doing stand-up comedy. We're going to keep in contact with our friends and family, despite small and or large differences that people have amongst each other around the world. There are always inspiring tales of the people who overcome those hardships and those differences, and they build bridges, right? And we know bridges is a huge word on the previous show. It's going to be a big word on this show. We love building bridges. Can we bridge the weird and the normal? Can we bridge the esoteric and the known? The paranormal and the normal? Can we build those bridges? We're going to do our damnedest. Comedy and drama. Let's build a bridge. Silly and serious. Let's build a bridge. Or do our best with the limited tool set that I have. I will be trying my best. I barely know how to swing a hammer, let alone build a bridge, but we're going to do our best. Now, we choose to believe, and we choose to believe that it's more fun to believe. Now we're getting into an inception hole of language here, which I love to do, but we choose to believe, and it is more fun to believe in things and to believe in people. And I've got more investigations coming your way that I'll be doing. I honestly have no idea what's going to be happening with the Mutilation Ranch investigation. Mama Sue was, by everybody involved in that investigation, Greg, Dan, Ed, myself, Tom Miller, everybody involved. They know that Mama Sue, basically, she was the investigation there, right? She was the key. It's almost like she was custom built for that, she was such a critical aspect of that investigation that in conversations I've had with Greg, we don't know what's happening with that now. Everything changes with the loss of the dear, beautiful, wonderful Mama Sue Gutierrez. And we love you. We always will. And we're going to take a quick break. How about those dulcet tones? Those sweet, sweet sounds that Tyler Boyd and Aaron Lee made for the show Late Night on the Astral Plane. This is Ryan Singer, and we're back for our last segment here. Last segment got a little emotional, but that's okay. Life is emotional. It's okay to be emotional when we lose those that we love in our lives. And to not acknowledge such a thing would be a disservice to the impact that those people have had on our lives. What can I tell you? I'm excited about the future of the show. We're going to be having comedians on the program. I'm going to be doing my damnedest, even while I'm traveling, to try to get 2 episodes a week out for you. We'll see if we can't get back to that rigorous schedule. Excuse me. And then, scientists, etc., some new people, some familiar faces and voices will be rejoining the show for future voyages here. Now, if you think that you have a great story to tell, I'd love to hear it. And so you can reach out, you can get in contact, and maybe we can get you on the program to share your story here on Late Night on the Astral Plane. Now, like I said, there will be, moving forward, nothing really is going to change other than the name and the fact that we're doing video and maybe some of the look of it. But for the most part, it's going to be the same show. And, for better or for worse, one might say, as Me and Paranormal You. And, so, I hope you're not sad about the end of Me and Paranormal You, because it has ended, but it's basically just metamorphosized into Late Night on the Astral Plane. That's basically, I'll be honest with you. In the nearly 13 years I did that podcast, and all the different shows, stand-up comedy shows that I performed, I would say that the host of the show probably got the name of the podcast right 19% of the time. I'd say 81% of the time, the host of the show, they couldn't read what they've written. Me and Paranormal You didn't roll off the tongue in the way that I thought it might, because initially I thought it was like, oh, it's the conversation between me and you. Hey, it's me and you, which is a great name for a podcast, by the way. I don't know if anyone's doing that for I haven't looked, but so it was me and you just chatting about some weird paranormal stuff, right? And then I was like, well, Me and Paranormal You. So it's Me and Paranormal You talking about the paranormal stuff in your life. So to me, that was the idea, right? Much more difficult to say, even difficult for me at times to say it when I'd be needing to say the name of the show, which is, it's like I should be the one person who nails it every single time. Late Night on the Astral Plane, now that rolls off the tongue, right? That's a smooth name. So we'll see what happens. We don't know what the future holds, but we're hopeful. So, and I will be doing some live iterations of this show in the future as well. So I'll be obviously making you very aware of when that will be happening. But this is what I'm looking forward to. And this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for more disclosure. I'm hoping for more disclosure, not only about UFOs and aliens, but more disclosure about Bigfoot and other cryptids and interdimensional creatures. Also, portals. Portals have been a hot word. You notice that? I don't know who Portal got to be their publicist or their agent lately, but they are hot right now. Everybody's talking about portals. Portals got themselves a great publicist. As you know, we think portals are pretty cool over here and have for a while. We even think that portals are sentient over at this program. So, Nigel isn't traveling with me, and I wasn't able to get Nigel on the line. Nigel might show up the next time we do a solo voyage, but maybe we'll call these journeying. Solo voyage a journey. Maybe we'll just call them solo voyages, but when it's just me, not with a guest. But we love that portals are in the news, quote unquote. More and more people are talking about portals. What many people would refer to as just everyday people who aren't obsessed and into the paranormal in a major way. Everyday people, we'll call them. I hesitate to call them normal people, because how could you not be into that? It seems abnormal not to be into the paranormal. But they know what they're familiar with portals. I'm getting, Instagram reels and whatever sent to me from everyday people about some of the craziest stuff that I would never even encounter. And full disclosure, you could send me that stuff, I guess, but I don't sit on my phone and watch reels. I don't do that. It is rare that I will see a reel that isn't made by a friend of mine. I'm just not spending much time on my phone in that way. I know that's what everybody's doing. I know TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, I know people are just doing that, but that's not how I'm spending my time on my phone. I'm mostly on Zillow. But even though, I'm not buying a house right now. First of all, I don't even know where I'd buy it. Every time I go to a new city, I don't know if you're like this. Every time I go to a new town, I'm like, I could live here. Like, if it's got a good milkshake and at least one vegetarian option somewhere, I'm like, I could live here. This could be the place I live. Like George Carlin. That was more Christopher Walken than George Carlin. That was weird. Like Pussyfot. Okay, there we go. Now we've got back to it. So, anyway, any hoodles. I could live anywhere. I really feel like that. I mean, as long as it's, relatively warm and doesn't have snow. And if it does have snow, it's got to be like 3 days a year it snows. I think like Denver's kind of got that vibe. Denver's a little cold for me, but I love Denver. I love Colorado. Colorado's just, give me John Denver on the stereo constantly, just singing about Colorado, and I'm on board. And I'm like, you're right, John. Every time I hear the John Denver songs like Starwood and Aspen or Rocky Mountain High, I'm just like, John, you're right. John, you are correct. John, I agree with everything you've just sung. Anyway, so that's what I'm hopeful for. Hopeful for more disclosure about all of this stuff. And I think it's coming. And I think that independent researchers, I'm not including myself in this specific example, just for the record. I don't want you to think that we're there with me yet. I do believe that I'm an independent researcher and an investigator, but I don't think I'm one of the people pushing the narrative forward, like, giving you groundbreaking discoveries. I'm here to tell you about things I hear and I try to keep up on, but I'm not out here being like, this is what I'm telling you. I mean, the biggest thing I've ever said on here is that I think, portals are sentient and shapeshifters are real. And I know the second one is true because of my experience there, but are portals sentient? We haven't figured that out yet, but I definitely believe they are. And if they're not sentient, they're being controlled by something that is sentient. There's intelligence in their reported behaviors or the characteristics or the attributes that portals have, allegedly, from the people who have either tried to document them, seen them, or know about them, or have studied this kind of thing. There seems to be an intelligence there. And is it inherent of the portal, this intelligence, or is it inherent, or is it built in by something sentient and hyper-intelligent controlling the portal, moving it around? Are these portals moving around because of an intelligence to escape being, used or accessed, for lack of a better word? I don't know, right? And quite frankly, that's above my pay grade. And will I ever know that? No, probably not, unless someone tells that to me and I trust and believe them. then maybe, yes, I could say definitively, with as much definitiveness as one can have secondhand about something like that. But isn't that what life is? Believing each other. It's more fun to believe, including other people, when they try to share information with you that is potentially exciting and groundbreaking. Now, we know that Bigfoot is real here on this show. I've posted that video on my Instagram, at Rice Saying. You can go find it. At Late Night on the Astral Plane is the show's Instagram. Me and Paranormal You has changed to at Late Night on the Astral Plane. So if you were following the Me and Paranormal You Instagram, you don't have to do anything. You're still following Late Night on the Astral Plane. The Patreon has switched its name over as well, but you don't have to worry about that. You can just search patreon.com/Ryan Singer. That is the Patreon for the show if you want ad-free episodes. I think that's like most of the housekeeping. I've got the website, but who knows? I probably haven't redirected it at this point. I don't know if I've done that. Who's going to websites anymore? Everybody's just using phones, Instagrams, Facebooks, and YouTubes for that kind of stuff, it seems like. Or, just the app, the Spotify video. God, the guy who owns Spotify is such a douchebag. But and then, the audio feeds out everywhere. So, I mean, it's a pleasure to be on SpectreVision Radio's network. That is where we're living now. And that's why all these changes are happening. They're trying to motivate me to actually do some work on the program, on the show here. I've been trying to do all my homework just for that. And I got to tell you, I've been living pretty fast and loose in regards to this podcast for the last 12 and a half years. It's, I'm kind of podcast in a bag is what I call it. I have a bag over here and it's it's right here. The podcast has fit in this bag. This is a Film Dayton bag from a film festival years ago that my alumni, Wright State University, killed off by starting their own film festival and having it a week before the Film Dayton Festival, which is, you ever think I'll donate $1 to my alma mater after they do something like that? That is just, it's just gross. It's just like, why are you being such a dick? Anyway, Wright State is whatever. They can go eat a bag. Not this bag, though. This is my Film Dayton bag. Podcast in a bag. Everything in my podcast fits in that bag except for the computer. And me. I don't fit in that bag. Not anymore. Not with all the ice cream I've been eating. Nonetheless. So I'm going to be keeping you up to date on investigations. I'll be going back to Florida relatively soon. I'll be doing other paranormal investigations, as I always do when I'm traveling to different towns and different cities around this country, and hopefully, before too long, the world. I'd love to, get overseas, and, would I come back? I mean, that's debatable. Who knows? Depends, because everywhere I go, I feel like I could live. So I'm sure I anticipate that there wouldn't be much different going overseas anywhere, or just going into Mexico or going into Canada. I'd probably want to just stay there too. I could live in any of these places. I'm pretty certain. But yeah, and if you got any guest recommendations, I'd love to hear those as well. Feel free to reach out about that stuff. But outside of those things, I think we're going to kind of keep this one nice and tight for you. So, but just know this, that the old show is gone, but it lives on. Its spirit, its its mantra, it's more fun to believe, that lives on in this show. Me and Paranormal You might be gone, but it's still here. It's basically just this now. It's just a different name. Like I said, it went through a metamorphosis, and here we are, taking voyages, late night on the astral plane, and I'm glad you're here for the voyage, and I hope you've enjoyed this particular journey. And then it's going to be pretty much business as usual, moving on here, moving forward. It's hard to leave 800 plus episodes behind like that and just feel like you're maybe not making a mistake. It's really, because, initially I thought I would be doing Late Night on the Astral Plane as a separate show. That was the plan. That was the idea. And it turned into this instead. And, I don't think it's hit me, honestly. I don't think it'll hit me until I have to change the artwork and change the name. And I haven't done that yet because none of this stuff has been announced until it all launches, which will be right now as soon as this came available. Wow. Yeah, so I guess I'm just now realizing that I haven't fully processed it. But here we are. I'm going to live with the decision. I think it's the right one, and I hope you do too. And and remember, this is a safe place for the strange and the silly, and I look forward to exploring both of those things. Hopefully at least once, but hopefully multiple times a week, indefinitely, moving forward with all kinds of great guests lined up, and paranormal, strange, esoteric, wild, otherworldly, unanswerable topics moving forward per the usual, along with updates on my personal paranormal journeys and investigations. So if I don't see you at a live stand-up show, or I'll be with Karen Rontowski in upstate New York this weekend doing paranormal storytelling shows. That's the 15th, 16th, and 17th of August up in Utica, New Bern, and what's the middle one? I can't remember. But that information is on my Instagram. And if you're up in the upstate New York area, we'd love to see you. Me and my buddy. Who doesn't love Karen Rontowski? Get yourself some Karen Rontowski in your life. You'll be glad you did. And then after that, I'll be just kind of floating around. I'll update you on all that stuff later. But in the meantime, I hope you're taking care of yourself. And I hope that even in the face of impending darkness that seems to be growing stronger and stronger every day, you can somehow keep that light inside of you lit and keep your battery charged, to keep fighting the good fight, and keep standing up for what's right, and all that other good stuff. And take care of yourself. Take care of yourself first and foremost, because if you haven't been taking care of yourself, it's going to be nearly impossible to take care of anybody else. So, and if I don't see you at a live show sometime on the road, I'll just see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.